get started. All right, family. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. If you hear paper turning, it is because I took in a lot of notes, and that's just what it is. But today we are going to continue and pick up where we left off last week, still continuing to show how consistent God is in showing us his playbook, right? And if we remember last week, we talked about how God let Israel and Nebuchadnezzar know all about what was getting ready to happen, and how even before they Israel was taken into captivity, how who would be ruling over them, how long they would be in captivity, and things like that. And we'll show the consistency when we get over into Revelation. But before we get over into Revelation, I want to go back to Daniel. We're going to go back into Daniel 2 because I want to bridge the gap of how we got all the way from then until what it's going to be, which will be pushing past currently now, right? So how we get from Daniel all the way there is very important. And we have it, and it's relevant to do it. So I want to start in Daniel 2, and we're going to go over some verses that we went over before, but I want to just show and bridge the gap, like I said, of how we got there. So I want to go Daniel 2. I'm going to start off in verses 31 through 35. We're going to slow walk a lot of this. We're going to slow walk a lot of this. A lot we are going to get into more of what you will hear, and I'll let you know what it'll be on Sabbath study. But for the gist of it, when we read these scriptures, I want to pace it to kind of get the full scene, to get the fullness in it, because there is a beauty in slowing down when you read the word. There's a beauty in it because we talk about like how we move when we move with fast and speed with ourselves. Like if you ever driven fast, anybody that be on the expressway, if you ever look like when you are moving that fast, the things to the side of you really get blurry. So when we read and fast a lot of these scriptures, you can get the gist of the story, but there's a beauty in slowing down that you get to see the fullness of every intentional of who, what, where, why, when, how. So slowing down is like it's kind of my focus. Um, and I know sometimes when I get excited and happy to share, I speed up. Please don't don't I don't mind if someone says slow down. Because that's just the joy of what I get when I'm excited when I'm sharing, because it's as I've been digging deeper, it's been a lot more revelations that I got on my own, you know. So that's the beauty of what we're about to get ready to do. We're going to slow down a lot of these verses and kind of, you know, like I said, just slow walk and pace it to enjoy the fullness and some other revelation that we may have missed if we were just speeding through. So Daniel 2, verses 31 through 35. I want to go back over the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had. This is when Daniel is Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and he wanted his all the best enchanters, astrologers, and magicians to not only tell him what the dream was, but also interpret that dream. So he wanted them to happen, and they couldn't find like all the enchanters and astrologers, they couldn't do it. They said this is a hard thing. Only person that can know this is the gods, and they don't dwell amongst humans. And Nebuchadnezzar got so upset that he wanted everyone's head. So while he after all of this, it gets word back to Daniel, who was hired in the king's in the king's service. It gets back to him that all of these that all the wise men and everything are about to get taken out because of this very thing. And instead it sends Daniel into praying, and he goes and interprets, not only tells, he goes and prays to the Lord. And the Lord not only reveals what the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had, but he also revealed the interpretation of it. And that was essentially the gist of understanding, like for the playbook part one that we did last week, where God is revealing his plans. This dream that Nebuchadnezzar had is a dream of something that is getting ready to happen. And it had to do with currently, at the time, it had to do currently with what Nebuchadnezzar was happening. But of course, it went on beyond Nebuchadnezzar. So where I'm jumping down to is in 31 through 35 is where we get is where Daniel reveals what the dream is. And we're gonna look at that now. So if I have anyone who desires to read, we're in Daniel 2. We're just going to start at verses 31 through 35.
I got you, bro.
Thank you, sis.
Mm-hmm. Daniel 2:31. Your Majesty looked, and there before you stood a large statue, an enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken to pieces and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace, but the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth.
Thank you so much, sis. This is so many layers that we could really get into. Um, man, but this dream is given by God to Nebuchadnezzar. So this is a beautiful thing. This is just the thing. I want everybody just to see the statue and understand the statue. The head is gold, the chest and the arms is silver, the belly and the thighs are bronze, and then the feet are um I feel like I'm missing one. I think the legs are iron. I think I missed that.
The thighs, yeah.
Yeah, is it the thighs and the legs?
The thighs and we just read it. The breastplate was like
Uh,
bronze or something.
yeah,
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 the
it
The
is.
chest,
belly,
The
the
belly
leg,
and
belly,
the
the
thighs
belly.
was bronze.
Yeah,
Bronze,
right,
Legs was
yeah.
right,
iron.
right,
The
right.
legs are iron, and then the feet are partly clay and partly iron, right? So it's like
Yes.
it's remnants of the iron mixed in with the clay. I just all of these things matter. So that's just so imagine a statue, and all of these different pieces have different metals. Of course, every metal has a different value. All of it, this is all within a dream. And this is Nebuchadnezzar's troubled by this dream, and he wants to know the interpretation of it. So now, when we get into verses 36 to essentially 45, is the interpretation of that dream. So, because remember, Nebuchadnezzar wanted to not only know what the dream was that he had, but he also wanted to know the interpretation of the dream. So he wanted to know the meaning of it and what did I dream? It's like seeing somebody and just asking them off on a whim, what did I have for dinner? And what did I use to make it? It almost seems impossible, right? So this put of course Daniel in a total reliance of God. He needed a supernatural help in order to understand this dream. So so now I want to go into the interpretation of the dream before I just give you the answer of what it is. And I'll read it. And I'm just going to go 36 through 45. Is it 36 to 45? Gotcha. Yeah, it's 36 to 45. I just want to make sure. I'm sorry, family.
Yeah.
So, and and it says, um, and it says, this was the dream, and now we will interpret it to the king. Your Majesty, You are the King of Kings. The God of heaven has given you dominion and power and might and glory. In your hands, he has placed all mankind. He has placed um, in your hands, he has placed all mankind and beasts of the field and the birds in the sky. Wherever they live, he has made you ruler of them. You are the head of gold. So in this statue, so not only is he the head of gold, but you can see the authority that Nebuchadnezzar had. Look at all the things that the Lord has placed in his hand: the birds of the sky, all the beasts of the field, all of these things he has dominion over, not only people, but over the animals and the birds. Just want to look at the fullness of the authority that Nebuchadnezzar has, because it's going to play a part, right? So wherever they live, he has made you ruler over them all. You are the head of gold. After you, another kingdom will arise inferior to yours. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. And as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others. Just as you saw that the feet and the toes were partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom. Yet it will have some of the strength of iron in it, even as you saw iron mixed with clay, as the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. Just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture and will not remain united any more, any more than iron mixes with clay. In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all the kingdoms, all those kingdoms, and bring them to an end, but it will itself endure forever. This is the meaning of the vision of the rock cut out of a mountain, but not by human hands. A rock that broke the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold to pieces. The great God has shown the king what will take place in the future. The dream is true and its interpretation is trustworthy. So this is the connector part, right? Because this is showing us, the statue is showing us of what is to come to pass. Nebuchadnezzar is here. There will be another kingdom after him, another kingdom after him, and it'll keep going until the rock is shown. Like until the rock comes and strikes the statue and it's broken into pieces, and a rock will become a hill, which we know mountains and hills are places of what?
Worship.
Here we go.
Hey,
Mountains are here,
so
are places of worship. Yep, go ahead, bro.
so real quick, when it says the rock hung, is it any significance as far as the rock just hitting the feet part? Because that's what it says.
Hey,
It hit the feet.
hey, bro. Hey, bro.
Okay, my
What
bad.
you?
My bad.
No, no,
Okay, my bad.
no, no. I'm glad. I'm
Reel it
glad.
back.
No, no.
Okay.
I'm glad you did it, because it's the Holy Spirit of, as I was reading it, that's what caught my attention, and
Right.
it's so significant of when
The
the
rock
rock
actually
strikes.
comes. Okay. Okay.
It's like when and where it strikes. Like
Right.
that
Right.
is so it's super
Right.
significant. Yes, it plays a part into it. So this thing is, so this is a statue that is showing you the timeline of what is getting ready to happen. This is God's playbook of letting them know he is the one that gave Nebuchadnezzar this authority. This authority will continue to pass on from kingdom to kingdom to kingdom to kingdom until
Um,
his son comes, which we know Jesus is the rock who comes and is going to establish his kingdom forever. He will smash all of these other kingdoms. And we are in Daniel 2 right now. We just went through essentially 31 through 45. So this so Jesus is going to come, and when he comes, he will establish his kingdom by smashing all the other ones, and laying it out. This is a timeline. When it comes to prophecy, we know that all prophecy has a starting point and an end point. There is no grayness, no vagueness in like it is a definite beginning and a definite end. And here we can see the definite beginning with Nebuchadnezzar being here, and the ending is coming with the rock. So through not only through the Bible, because if we go back into Jeremiah, I want to say it's Jeremiah 27, where God lets Jeremiah know how long Nebuchadnezzar's king. Each kingdom has their own set, they have
It
their own
is.
appointed time. Go
I
ahead, bro.
think it is 27, bro. It says Judah served to serve Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, can you read that for me? Oh, man, why
Just
can't I find Jeremiah?
just start at the beginning.
I want to say it's
Because
4
at the
through
beginning it
11.
says early for give them a message for their masters
It's
and say,
it's verse 7. Oh, wait. Before you go ahead, Pastor Derek. I see your hand, bro.
Didn't, oh, that's
Oh,
me. I
go ahead,
apologize.
J-Law. I'm sorry. No,
No,
you good.
are we talking about the captivity, like portion of Jeremiah, or no?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay.
No. For
Never mind.
how long? Because Kingdom. I appreciate you, sis.
Yeah, no problem.
In Jeremiah 27 and 6 and 7, it says, "Now I will give all your countries into the hands of my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. I will make even the wild animals subject to him. All nations will serve him and his son and his grandson until the time for his land comes. Then many nations and great kings will be subject to him." So here it is, the same prophecy is given before Daniel is written, before the dream is given to Daniel. The consistency is, and God wanting us to know his playbook and what is getting ready to happen. Remember, we said that we established before in Amos 3, I think Amos 3:7, where surely the Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. So here it is. Even before he sends this dream to Nebuchadnezzar, he lets Jeremiah know what is going to happen. But God does this thing called repetition and enlargement, where you get a portion here. And then when I come back and revisit it, I give you more information, and I give you more information when I come back until you get the full big grand picture of what it is that he's doing. So that's a beautiful thing. And when you really look at his word and how he really wants us to know it, he does repetition and enlargement. So with this statue, we know, like you said, it goes nation after nation and after nation. This is the connecting bridge of how we get from Daniel to 9, though because when we read in Daniel, we can see the transition from one kingdom to the next. And I want to say it's in Daniel 5. Nope. Yeah, it's Daniel 5. Look at me. It's not me, it's the Holy Spirit, but I'm just shocked. I'm sorry, y'all.
You know your word, ain't nothing wrong with that.
And Daniel 5, you get to see, here it is. We have Belshazzar, who is Nebuchadnezzar's son, who is having a banquet. And all of those um, goblets, silverware, and drink cups, and all of these things that Nebuchadnezzar had took from the holy temple, Belshazzar uses to have his banquet, and they're drinking and making toast to all of these other gods with them. And in the midst of this, a human hand comes up and it writes words, and the words that come on the wall are words that he needs someone to translate. And Daniel, once again, is a person to translate them. Um, and I was if someone can read Daniel 5, and we're just going to go from 25 to 31, because this is the transition from kingdom to kingdom. Like, this is the transition of, so remember in Jeremiah 27, it said the allotted time for him was, it goes, Nebuchadnezzar, his son, and then his son's son, essentially his grandson. So he had it as a allotted time. Um, but here it is. This is the thing. So, Stead, do you mind reading for me, brother?
Yeah, let me finish reading this. Okay.
Where we
I can't
starting
hear
at,
you.
Phil, again?
Daniel 5:25, he said.
Yep,
Thank you.
25 through 31. Because this is the trend. Like, I just want to give you a glimpse of um how in the word it shows us the transfer, like it shows us go from the gold to the silver. And it man, yeah, let's just read it and then I'll get to it. I'll be jumping all over the place, bro.
This verse 25. This is the inscription that was written. Mene, Mene, Tekel, person, parson. I don't know if I got that wrong. Sorry.
It's
Here's what
okay.
these words mean. Mene, mean God has numbered the days of your reign and brought it to an end. Tekel means you have been weighted on the scales and found wanting. Perez, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Sorry, my mind went blank. Then Belteshazzar commanded Daniel, was clothed in purple, a gold chain was placed around his neck, and he was proclaimed the third highest ruler in the kingdom. That very night, Belshazzar, king of the Babylonians, was slain, and Darius the Mede took over the kingdom at the age of 62. He was up there.
Yeah. So we see the transfer even in the inscription that was written by the hand. It let him know, sorry, it
Right.
let him know that not only the days of your reign has now been brought to an end. Your time is up. You was given an allotted time. And not only that, here it is at the bottom. It says your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. This is the transfer from gold to silver. So we see this consistently of what we can see right here, just in a word of the transfer of how this is that base of how
It's
the
all
trans
about that base, about that base.
but we can see the transfer of just the metal and the values, right? Go ahead, Sister Deidre, so I can collect my thoughts.
Oh, you might be about to say it though. Should I wait?
No, go
Well,
ahead.
oh,
Go
okay. So my question was, since that says that the kingdom was split between two different kingdoms, is that the iron and the clay?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
These are Medes and Persian is counted as one for a very specific reason um of how God describes that specific kingdom.
Okay.
So and it's gonna that part is gonna make more sense on Sabbath study. Sabbath study, I'll be diving more into the beast because of that thing that I was telling you about in the beginning, where God does this thing called repetition and enlargement. So here we have it where this dream is telling us about nation after nation after nation, and it's described as metals. God does it again by naming them by beast, by like certain animals. So he describes it. It's a repetition thing and it's an enlargement, and he describes it that way for a very reason. To you can see the characteristics of that nation and how vicious and how sly and how conniving. Like it's very intentional of how and why he uses that language, but I'm going to dive more deep into that next study.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. So once again, we see that the Lord, so now we can know that this is the Medes and Persians, right? So we do not um after Daniel, in as far as books in the Bible, you can go and you can see all the other prophets that's before. There is a gap between Old Testament and New Testament. The rest of the Old Testament is are the books of the prophets, and they all are centered around. They are mostly centered around either before captivity happened, during captivity, or after captivity, because this is such a central event of what God is getting ready to do, because this was such an important thing. This was his Israel was his people that he desired for them to be a light to the world. They were sent, like, even where they were positioned was very important, centered in a central space where most people would have to pass through them to trade and come through, and they were supposed to be the peculiar people that shows a lifestyle, that shows the way that they're living, that would catch the attention. And when they didn't get it, this is why God was so upset with them, because he desires for his flock to come back to him. It's like he desired for those Philistines and those, he really gave them an opportunity to repent, give them time. He give them acknowledgement of, like, gives them warning of what is coming. Go ahead, bro. I see you. What you getting?
Yeah,
Thank you for calling Medi-Cal. My name is Chantel.
I was going to ask you just because I remember, I don't know if it was Mama Sue or we had a conversation about the centralization of Israel. But when you said like it was easy for them to travel, even like how the water ran and everything, it was easy for everything to come through. And him wanting to be a light, it would have been easy for them to, if things would have went right, it'd have been easy for while they traded, like they would have probably sat there, for another day or so, whatever, getting information. It's easy for them to bring it back and forth to their people, and then how it's easy for it to spread. My mind just started running like that, based off what you were saying. I mean, he wanted them to be the light to bring people to them. So technically, they didn't even have to necessarily go out, and you know what I mean, like just because of
Yeah.
the
People would have
okay,
came to them. You don't have to,
right,
it would have created like I consider it to be like a whirlpool, right? It
right,
would have been a
right.
pulling of people in, because this is what happens, right? It would have been a pulling of people in because they would have been coming in and flooding in. And of course, like, if you ever seen a whirlpool, they start off small and they expand and they bring in more, like, and it keeps going like that until it's big, right? That's what it would have been. But what happens is that now, since they were in disobedience, they were sent into captivity, and now it became a whirlpool, but different. So here you have Babylon, who is bigger than them, surrounding them. But then you get another nation who becomes bigger, the Medes and Persia, that's bigger than Babylon, that comes and takes them over. And then you have another one, which is the one that we do not the one that we do not get to see, which is the one that's not really listed, is Greece, but you see the remnants of Greece. Greece is the bronze. You don't really get to see it, but it's in the prophecy. And maybe another time when we have more time, we can dive more deep into it, because it goes into Alexander the Great and the
That's what I was
things that
about to
he
say.
conquered,
Okay, okay,
all of this stuff. So
okay.
not only do we have a biblical understanding of this, we also have a historical thing where we can start to match and understand this part. So now when we get into the iron of knowing that the iron is Rome, when it gets into the clay and the iron, we could see the remnants of how Rome affected the world. Go ahead, bro.
Not even with them even with them lying, when they lied to the they wanted the soldiers to put out the lie, how that was
Mhm.
still like a remnant from that. Like just hey, bro, I'll just have to talk with you, bro. Yeah.
I got
But
you.
yeah.
I got you. So these is the kingdoms and a part of the statue, and this is the connector part. So of course, I don't know if I got a chance to ask the most obvious question that I could ever ask, is how many toes do we have, or should we have?
10 of them things.
Like, the most obvious question that I could ever have, but it's so important because it's so intentional that God pointed it out on this statue. So here it is. We have the feet where he says it'll be many, strong, and weak. But then if for some reason it points out that the nation after the feet comes the toes. And this is the part of where we get the transition. Like, we get if you go through, like I said, if you go through and you look through the gap between the Old Testament and the New Testament, you could tell that that's the part of Greece, right? And I say that to say when we get into the New Testament, we get into Matthew, we understand that Rome is already ruling, but you can see the remnants of Greece of not only the names of the certain sects of the certain sectors of religious groups that pop up, they're Greece, they're like the Greece in name. So you see the language that they're using and the things like that, and all the remnants. It's like you can see the remnants of the previous, if that makes sense. So though you may not physically see like King so and so who was of the Greece, like I said, if you read in Daniel, it gets to the part of talking about Alexander the Great and the kingdom that he ruled. So you can see it in prophecy, but we don't get to see it the same way that we get to see Babylon, the same way that we get to see Medes and Persia, the same way that we get to see um, Rome. So after that, we know that essentially the New Testament only in that time period, all the books are centralized around Roman time. This is the life of pretty much the disciples, whether it been Peter, Paul, John, James, all of those are centralized in a set of time. It's a very small difference of we see in the Old Testament, we got thousands of years through times, and especially when you're going in Genesis, it's so many years that has passed, and as we read short passages. But here we have in the New Testament, essentially, we're getting 80 to 90 years worth of history until we get to Revelation, which is speaking of what is to come. And that is the connecting block of going from then until now. Because, like I said, we have the historical understanding of what happens after Rome. We see it. We see how many nations is it now? If anybody want to take a good Google, we can go into it. If you just want to know how many nations is it now?
I got my young hot computer in front of me since I'm technically still working. According to Google, there are 195 countries in the
Says there
world.
are 195 countries,
195
195
countries.
or something like that.
195 countries. Let's see. So
and this includes, this says it's 193 states in the United Nations and then 2 non-member, which is Vatican City and Palestine.
And Palestine. Yep.
Are all of those nations that you just said, are they all strong? Or some strong, some weak?
Some strong, some weak.
There's definitely some weak ones in there.
So we have like, not only do we have a historical evidence, we have an understanding of like, yo, it's not just 10 nations. So we could see where we are on this statute. And we understand that this, once again, this is an ongoing statute. It has not stopped. It had an opportunity to stop, which we can go into at another time. It had an opportunity to be sealed up. But since it didn't happen, prophecy continues to go. And this is the game plan of what is to be now. We understand that once the golden censer is cast down, destruction will come about. The 4 winds are no longer, like the golden censer is cast down. There is no more intercession corporately for the world from God's wrath, corporately, leaving us with the opportunity of leaving us with the bronze altar, bronze censer that leaves us with an individual opportunity to still choose which side we desire to be on. If we are going to be for the Lord, or if we are going to be for, or are we going to take the mark? So with that, once that happens, I just want to set the scene up because we're getting ready to go into Revelation 13. because this will be the aftermath of once all this destruction goes down and all of this stuff happens. What usually happens in movies when a global destruction happens? How do people react?
Chaos.
It is chaos. Is it usually certain people in that chaos that try to come together?
Yep.
So in this chaos, there seems to be that there is going to be some type of there's going to be a form of structure that comes up out of this. So this is what's going to happen when that fourth seal is broken and those four winds are no longer held back. That sword, famine, plague, and wild beast is set forth because like corporately, the world has to feel the wrath. But individually, you have an opportunity still to make a choice. This is what it will look like. So I want to go into Revelation 13. We're gonna slow walk this. Um, yeah, we just gonna slow walk this, and as we go, um, we're just gonna break down each verse by each verse, and then we'll be able to compare and contrast. This is the part where if you need a little pen and paper, you can get it so you can take notes. We're gonna do a little math for a certain section. So I just want to prepare everybody for just what we're about to get ready to go through. So we're in Revelation 13. Um, yeah.
We're starting at verse 1.
Yes, sir. You mind reading just verse 1 for me, bro?
Yeah, I
And
got
I'm
you.
gonna stop you.
The dragon stood on the shore of the sea, and I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name.
Thank you, bro. I'm gonna stop right there. Once again, we understand that Bible study is for believers, right? That's something we all could agree upon. So I'm gonna ask a Bible study question. If you hear me, and just ask who is the dragon?
The enemy. Satan.
Satan.
Devil.
You know. So I say that we're not gonna get into we're not gonna get full. I'm not gonna fully dive into the beast. This this study, the Sabbath, I got something for you guys. Um, but I needed to just say that part of because God is very intentional about how he says things and like his structure of how he's wording this is very much so important because it's talking about the devil is standing on the shore and he's watching another beast come up out of the sea. And that sea that we know is a sea of people. And that we would dive more into that. You can see that if you want to go read ahead, you could go to Revelation 17 and you can see it. The sea is a sea of people. And it's going to make sense and in the description because if you read this and you know, and if you read it before, you may can even if you go back and read Revelation 12, a beast is described having the same thing, 10 horns and 7 heads. But there's a reason that God called it, said that the dragon was standing on the shore, seeing this beast come up out of the sea to notice that there is a difference between the one that was stated before. So I really want to hone in on that to just let you guys know, like I'm not avoiding this. We're going to get into it and dive more deep into it for next study. So I think I'm gonna do this like popcorn. Popcorn breeders. Mama Sue, do you mind reading just verse 2 for me?
Sure, no problem. The beast I saw resembled a leopard, but had feet like those of a bear and a mouth like that of a lion. The dragon gave the beast his power and his throne and great authority.
Thank you. So remember how we was just talking about repetition and enlargement. And excuse me, repetition and enlargement, and how the same way that God described these nations before in when we were just in Daniel 2, how he described them as metals. If we go, we're going to go back and read it when we dive more into the beast because it plays a bigger part. He also described them as beast, and we can see this beast is an amalgamation of different animals having different features, animals that represent kingdoms, like the metals did on that statue. So, what I also want to point out is the dragon gave this beast authority. So remember how we sat here and said, well, not sat here and said, remember how in Jeremiah, the Lord said he was sending his servant who? So who gave Nebuchadnezzar the authority to do what he did? Who was it, bro?
God
God gave
did.
him. Yeah, God did it. Sorry.
God, God gave the devil this authority, and he
He
passed this
gave it to the
authority.
beast.
Yeah. So I just wanna show because
He's trying to be. No,
no, go ahead.
no, you go ahead and finish, bro. You go ahead and finish.
Okay. So I just wanted to point out like who gave this authority, who sent this is that. Remember, this is also a part of the statute. This is still a part of the statute. So also if you even if you remember Job, right? And Job tried to attack Job, Satan was going to and fro in heaven, and the Lord asked him, he said, have you considered my servant Job? Because he said he was looking for who he could devour. And he said, I tried, but there was a hedge of protection. And then we see God give him what? What did God give the enemy?
Authority.
Authority.
And bro, I'm just reading that four, bro. Bruh.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Nah, just how like you're saying, it's clear saying in the Bible that the beast gave. I mean, the dragon gave the beast authority, but I mean, it's just him. I don't know if I'm off, but of course, we know he wants to be like God. That's how I'm taking it. Him giving the authority, but even kind of lost myself. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna shut up.
I got, bro. When I say you own something. Stead is over here jumping ahead in the Bible study. Um, but I just wanted to point out and also just remember the authority that he has, and just think about all the authority that he gave to Nebuchadnezzar. Same authority that he gave to, like we talked about this last time. If you're going to be a servant, you're either going to be good and faithful, or you're going to be lazy and wicked. Like, so I'll just leave that there. I just want you to think about the authority because it all plays a part in this, right? So we still comparing what is to come and what it can look like and how similar it looked like at the end. And I'm going to ask some questions at the end to see if you guys remember, and just to see how much they could compare, right? So I'm going to go through. We stopped at verse 2. I'm gonna read 3 and 4 together. Um, And it says, one of the heads of the beast seemed to have a fatal wound, but the fatal wound had been healed. The whole world was filled with wonder and followed the beast. People worshiped the dragon because he had been given authority, because he had been given authority to the beast. And they also worshiped the beast and asked, who is like the beast? Who can wage war against it? Um, and then in verse 5, it says, It says the beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. So how long are we given a time limit?
Yes, sir.
Is this very familiar, right? You see the consistencies of how here it's given a time limit the same way, like each one has an allotted time. Like God is consistent. Go ahead, bro. I see you thinking on something.
No, because you're running off the consistency word. So it got me thinking about there's a reason why he said these animals. So I'm trying to think about that. And the fact that, because I wrote it down, said it resemble a leopard. He had feet like a bear and then a mouth like a lion. And then it just went to 5. And I don't know if it makes sense, but it says the beast was given a mouth to utter proud words. And I mean, I know that's talking, but I wonder because he used the metals and they were different. He could have just said metals, but there's a difference in it. So I'm wondering if there's also a meaning behind like the actual animals, why he said the way he said it.
And it is. Like I said, on the next study, we're gonna dive more deep into it.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm gonna
there's
shut up.
yeah. Nah, you good, bro. No, because it's good that you thinking on this because that's the purpose of like, to want to know and to dive deeper into explaining it because this is, like you said, this is God revealing his playbook. He is intentional in why he's revealing it in the way he's doing it so that we can understand. You know what I mean? Those who are seeking after his heart, he wants us to know. Like he is not secretive about what he is getting ready to do. He don't want to sneak attack nobody. He is giving
Nobody.
us a full play-by-play book of what is getting ready to happen. And even sliding in a why it's going to happen and even a how it's going to happen. And if we pay close attention to it, we know it also he's sliding in a win. Like he's intentional with all of this. So all of these, the ways that he's setting it up, the words that he's using, they are not just like loosely used words. It's intentional.
Mm.
So it's not wrong or off for you to be thinking about it because that's how he's setting this up. Like it's those questions that Jesus would ask is like they were meant to be thought provoking. Like, and it's even and it's not in the overly complex ways. It's sometimes it's in a simple way. Remember how he just asked, like, who is my mother, my brother, and my sister?
Yeah.
Like he asked that to people who actually knew his mother, brother, and
Brother and
sister.
sister.
Like,
Right.
but it's meant to be
Right.
a thought-provoking question of like so it's as long as it's getting you thinking, it's supposed to have that curiosity. And as you have that curiosity, ask the questions, and all you're getting is get understanding.
Yes, sir.
So that's the heart of everything. So we understand that he's given the beast authority for 42 months. This is the part where I want to do some math a little bit and just I know that we know it a little bit. How long is 42 months in years? How many years is that?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. Now, how many days is that?
Look now, hold on. Let me get my calculator up. All right. All right.
Because I want to do
One
something
thousand
beautiful.
two hundred and 77.5.
Yeah, that's if we do how we count time, 365 days.
Correct.
But if we look at how God counts time from new moon to new moon, it takes 30 days to do a lunar cycle. So it's got 30
28.
days. So you got 30 days a month. So 30, 30 times 12 is how many?
360.
Yep. So 360 times 3
1,080.
plus half of 360, which is 180.
1,260.
Times and half a time. I just want to throw that in there of just how beautiful he set this up. It's intentional. It's a beautiful thing. I just found that to be just one of the coolest things. 1260, 1,260
So,
days.
so you said, okay, she said 360 times
Yep.
3, right?
Yep.
And she got the 1080, right?
Yep.
And then
So
you
because it's 3.5. So now we do half of 360.
half, you got the 1260.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to make sure
I just
I was with you.
So I just wanted to add that. I found that to be cool. Found that to be very interesting as I was doing that. Pastor Derek, know I do this thing called nerd. He called it nerd talk, where I just nerd out on just something cool. But it's something that
Nerd
you will
talk.
see. It's something that you will see just how consistent God is with what He does. Like I really wanted to point out these consistencies in what He's doing, right? So just wanted to show that. So he's given this beast authority for 42 months. So he's giving them a timeline. He's giving them a deadline to do their will. That's the authority they have for 42 months. So let's keep going. Stead, do you mind reading verses 6 through 8 for me?
Yes, sir. um, it opened his mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. And it was given authority over every tribe, people, language, and nation. You said to what again, bro?
To 8.
To eight? Okay. All inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, all whose names have not been written in the Lamb's book of life, the Lamb who was slain from the creation of the world.
Thank you, bro. So just remember the authority from Job, right? Just remember the authority that was given to Nebuchadnezzar and Jeremiah when we just read that. On the statue, each nation taken over after Nebuchadnezzar took over his authority as well. So remember, the beast out of the sea is the toes of the statue holding on, holding the power of Babylon in Daniel's time once had. So they have that same authority. Remember, we looked at that where um the the devil gave the beast the authority that he had. So I just want you see it how it's given out here. All the inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast. All whose that not been written. Every tribe, every nation, every tongue. Like this. This is a consistent thing of just remembering that. So then we have 9 and 10. I'll read, and it says, "Whoever has ears, let them hear. If anyone is to go into captivity they will go. If anyone is to be taken out with the sword they will be taken out. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. Similarities of what happened in Daniel time. If you are to go, go. Then ask for them to put up a fight, right? Remember, in and 27, let's go back to 20. I'm gonna just read 27 and
He's,
11. Jeremiah 27
he's,
and 11. That's is how intentional he is, right?
he said if they put up a fight, he said something about, he
Yeah.
said, Jeremiah, what?
27 and 11.
I'm there if you want me to read it.
Go ahead, bro.
But if any nation will bow its neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon and serve him, I will let that nation remain in its own land to till it and live there, declares the Lord.
So if anyone is to go to like you could be trying to
Go.
go against the grain, trying to self-preserve yourself. Like
Going
trying
against
to
God.
because he's the one that gave them authority to do this. So I just want to just point these out. Like he's running the same play and he's undefeated. God is undefeated. He will not lose. And he's giving you and he's laying this out, laying all this information out so that you know the choices that you are making. You know which team you on. It's making this plain. So I'm gonna go down to going on to verse 11, and then we'll finish out. Um, we back in Revelation 13, and it says, "Then I saw a second beast coming out of the earth. It had two horns like a lamb, but it spoke like a dragon." And of course, we're going to dive deeper into the beast, but I do want to point out how though the first beast came out of the waters of the multitude of people, this one comes out of the earth, like how when man was formed, with just two horns like a lamb, or the appearance of it, but speaking like the devil. Now, I do have a question. How was the lamb described?
Are you saying when he was in heaven and he said when he was given him authority? I
He
know
was
it
found
looked. He said
worthy.
it. Yeah, he said he looks slain.
What was his appearance?
I'm trying not to just run to it.
No. If anybody else know how was the lamb described, it is in Revelation 5. But do you know it off the top of your head?
Did he got two more? I know he looks
It's
slain because
okay. Go ahead, bro. You can go to Revelation 5 for me.
okay, I'm already there. Verse 5, 6. Then I saw the lamb looking as if it has been slain, standing in the center of the throne, encircled by all the four. That's where you want me?
Keep going.
Okay, encircled by the four living creatures and the elders. The lamb had seven horns and seven eyes, which are the seven spirits of God sent out into the earth. Let me go back to Revelation 13.
Yep. And he had what?
He only had two horns because he looked like so 13 and 11.
And this is
He had two
why,
horns like a lamb.
like a human lamb, like a regular, like
Like an
it's gonna be
earthly lamb.
an earthly lamb.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so like with seven horns and the eyes being the spirit of
Seven
God.
spirits of God.
I wanted to point this out to show the counterfeit beast, and that it only has two horns.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you don't know the voice of God and you don't know how righteousness, how his character, how his spirit really looks,
Bro,
you can be deceived. Like deception is guaranteed when you don't know the shepherd's voice.
and I was
Now,
talking with somebody today about how when he came, they was looking for like the outer appearance, the warrior, for him to be so great, and he wasn't. But now in the end time, it's totally different. Oh, since you're looking so much at the outer appearance of something, you know what I'm saying? You're not really paying attention. It's easy to be deceived because you're looking at something that's going to be so glorious that you have never seen before. You know what I'm saying? That may, we know it's going to be calling signs, doing signs and stuff like that. So it's extremely easy to be deceived if you're not used to knowing the difference.
man, like that is if you don't know his voice, if you don't know like his heavenly voice, how we're going to read the rest of this. We're going to read 12 through 18, and we're going to see just how like what that deception that will be guaranteed for those who don't know the lamb's voice, who don't know what the lamb look like. It could get caught up in those appearances, and how it is a warning for us to know God's voice now, to know his character now, to know all of these things, so that when this world is shaken by all the destruction that is on the way, you don't get caught up in it. Go ahead, Mama Sue. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're okay. I just wanted to make note on Revelation 5, when he's talking about the lamb and the seven eyes, which are the seven spirits of God. That is the Holy Spirit. So the lamb, the imitation lamb, is not going to have the Holy Spirit.
Nope. It's gonna speak like dragon. because it is a dragon.
Yep.
Like revealing its true self in the way it speaks and the way it moves. And that's what we're about to get ready to see. So 12 through 18 is going to show you that full picture. And it says it exercised all the, and we're back in Revelation 13, and we're just going to finish this out. It exercised all the authority of the first beast on his behalf and made the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast whose fatal wound had been healed. And it performed great signs, even causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in full view of the people. Because of the signs it was given power to perform on the behalf of the first beast, it deceived the inhabitants of the earth. It ordered them to set up an image in honor of the beast who was wounded by the sword and yet lived. The second beast was given power to breathe life to the image of the first beast, so that the image could speak and cause all who refuse to worship the image to be unalived. Sorry about that. It also forced all the people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hands or on their foreheads, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its names. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. Let the person who has insight. This is that part of like what we was explaining, like how God is not secretive. Let the person who has insight. So there is someone who has, he wants you to know. But I just want to point out that this beast who comes out of the earth, unlike that first beast who we seen come out of the sea of people, it comes out of the earth in the same way that man was formed, having the image of an earthly lamb, but really speaking like the dragon, like the devil, like Satan. And if you don't know the lamb's voice, if you don't know the Holy Spirit that the lamb is led by, you can be caught up in the strong delusion. You can be caught up in the deception when it performs signs and things and boast of its great power and its proudness. And it does that same thing that Nebuchadnezzar did, or better yet, it does what it influenced Nebuchadnezzar to do back then. And we can see that being established, like that is, we can see and know that that's been the enemy's heart since the beginning, because even if we go into Isaiah 14 and we can just read, and it just exposes the heart of the enemy and how he been. So in Isaiah 14 and 13 and 14, it says, you said in your heart, I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the mount of the assembly on the utmost heights of Zaphon. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. That's been his heart. This image to be praised for his power, for his strength, for all of these prideful things of him. I want his place. This is been his heart from the beginning. And for 42 months, he gets to exalt this authority. He gets to, but this has been in his heart. But 15 through 17 will show his fate. And it says, but you are brought down to the realm of the dead, to the depths of the pit. Those who see you stare at you. They ponder your fate. Is this the man who shook the earth and made the kingdoms tremble? The man who made the world a wilderness, who overthrew its cities and would not let his captives go home? Like, this is the playbook in full of what is to come. And God is consistent in the way that he do it. In Revelation, did he tell us how long that the beast was going to exert his authority?
42 months.
In the same way,
1260 days.
in the same way he said never same thing he let Israel know the same thing with Nebuchadnezzar, right? The same way that he says who's gonna rule because they got authority. The same way that he was saying, I'm sending my servant Nebuchadnezzar. Like all of this is consistent what the surrounding areas is going to look like, what you are to do during this time. He's consistent in revealing his playbook because he wants you to know the choice that you are making. He desires for you to choose him and to rely on him and to trust in him, especially in that part when it gets to if you are to go into captivity. It puts you in a total reliance of not self-preservation, but in total trust of the Lord to realize that your life is in his hands. So I just wanted to point out this is the playbook and how God is not secretive, how he's wanting us to know what is getting ready to happen. And if you take your time to just slow read through this, to slow down, you can see the fullness of what he's trying to show. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any questions, any comments, we can chop it up for a little bit. And then I'll see you guys Sabbath after I pray out. But that's what I got for today.
Real quick, in Revelation, where we just were, I think you said 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we all know this, but 13:13, it says, and it performed great. It performed. So when I just that beginning part of it performed, that just stood out to me because God wasn't performing for nobody. You know what I mean? But it says it performed great signs, and then it just took me back to when they were asking God, like, give us a sign, like do something for us, and He said, your sign was that of Jonah. You know, what I mean? So He wasn't down for performing for nobody, but the fact that the Antichrist want to come down and perform the show, didn't even go down because of the signs it was given power to perform on the behalf of the first beast. But just how, like you were just saying, how it's really boasting itself up more than anything, and God wasn't about that. But if you don't know,
Yeah. And
that that word perform was crazy. I'll say perform. Wait,
that's what I mean of like slowing it down and seeing those words that like that matters. Of like you said, because like that's a whole another aspect that I didn't even catch. Like, yo, man, right, bro. Like it's performing, like you're putting on a performance. This is not who you really are. It's a
right? When people are like,
performance.
oh, he putting on a
Like,
perform, he acting. Yeah,
yeah, like
yeah.
you throwing the sauce on it.
And the
And
fact that
it's
acting, you put on that mask, the lamb, two horns, putting on the mask, but what's underneath is really what he
even
speaks
though
like.
even the way like even in how it describes the way that he looks like a lamb, but his looks, the way that he look and the way that he talk is very different. It's not the
Yeah.
same. The inconsistencies of this, like, so it's all of the, like, he don't mince words of like at all, and why he's giving us this full view. Like, bro, that is a beautiful perspective of like, yo, he did that. This is a performance. Like, and
But
like you said, when he was like, I gave you the sign, the only sign that you would have is a sign of
the
Jonah. And
sign
he
of
did this,
Jonah.
and it happened. Like, yo, if they would have looked on the story of Jonah and how he was gone and the great fish for how long he was gone, the Jesus was in the tomb for the same amount of time. Like, no, you think I'm being facetious,
No,
and
I'm not with you.
I'm being real.
Yeah,
Like, but
yeah.
if you when you don't know the shepherd's
But
voice.
and when he only did things, he was only doing it like to show, like, to actually help people. You know what I'm saying? Like, because he was the one who made Sabbath. So, man wasn't made for Sabbath. What he said, man wasn't made for Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man. So you can help. Like, I'm just showing you can help on this day. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he wasn't performing. You feel what I'm
Nope.
saying?
Yep.
Like, bro.
It wasn't no facade. His words matched up with his image. Like his the way that he spoke, the way that he lived matched up with the way, and that's what he desired Israel to do. He desired for their ways to match up to the law that he had given them. Like your words to match up with the way that you live in. Because what we end up doing when he says, your lips honor me, but your heart is far from me. Like what you are looking like may look
It's old
like you're my
boy.
people, but when you
But what you
talking,
looking like is old boy that's coming back. But that's what when you was talking, I thought about when he called hypocrites. You know what I'm saying? Even with that speaking, but your heart is far from me. You know what I'm saying? You may speak, you may sound like, quote unquote, look like the lamb with the two horns, but your heart is like that, speaking like, what's really deep inside you. And bro, even with him allowing things to go haywire, and how what you said earlier, when we go into chaos, like we go chaotic, you know what I'm saying? So you go so chaotic, and then even with I'm all over the place. I was thinking about the 10 virgins. Okay, but first foremost, so even with you going chaotic or whatever, and it's so easy to, like, if you're not, when he says rooted in his word, it'll be so easy because everything is so chaotic, and you see this air quotation, my great thing fall, you know what I'm saying, come um in its splendor, because of God, what God gave him, and made him as. It's so easy to be deceived because you spend so much time saying, and also thinking that, because some people think we're gonna be raptured up. So you spend so much time thinking that and feeling that. So it's easy to be, quote unquote, or looked at God like he's a liar. You know what I'm saying? Because you weren't taken up. You know what I mean? And if you haven't really listened to his word, or been around people who are entrenched in his word, how it's easy to go left. You know what I'm saying? Thinking that it's, 7 year you'll be taken up from everything. And the fact that you won't be, and the fact that you see some come down, it's easy to think that that's God, and think that, what I'm saying? Oh, he came down now to save us. And so all I gotta do is take this mark on my hand, and whole time he's saying, like, to hold things through. Bruh,
yeah,
my
yeah.
bad for just doing all that talking. My bad, bro.
Nah, you good, bro. Yeah, just let me know. Like Pastor Derek just said, you ready for study, bro.
Now,
But
you know which one I'm trying to do,
yeah,
but I
yeah,
got to get
yeah,
that
yeah.
one all the way
You
down.
got you. But yeah,
But
bro, it's important to be rooted, bro. It's important to be rooted. It's important for you to know his voice and to know it, because if you don't, like you said, like if you don't, it's easy to get caught up in this delusion of what looks like him, but it ain't. And here it is, like you said, like he's showing you the whole game plan of what is going to happen. I'm not trying to deceive you, the world is. I'm not trying to deceive you, the enemy is. I'm not. I'm being honest, fair, and true, and showing my
from
game
jump,
plan of what is going from the jump.
from jump,
From the jump.
man, we get things so twisted, bro. Like,
Like
it's
we
crazy.
would do this thing of, like, that's the importance of, like, what Pastor Derek had when he did the study about God wanting us to know, like, this is the thing. Like, if he has consistently revealed his game plan from Noah to Moses to Jeremiah to Daniel, like to Jesus, there is a consistency in revealing his plan time and time and time and time again. Why is it we get to this point of here we get stuck on thinking that now he changed up? And it's like, yo, that's out of character.
Bro, so now, because he's consistent. Like, even from what he said, he told everybody what was about to happen before it happened. You know what I'm saying? Consistently. And the fact that how the same thing happened, you still had some people that didn't believe. You know what I'm saying? You still had some people who was trying to fight back. In Jeremiah time, and just even with our time now, you got so many people that can be deceived because they're, thinking that God is just going to save them and leave all the bad people down. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you're saying, he's showing the heart of himself, and the characteristics of himself all the way through. And if they didn't necessarily even see it or get it then with Jesus because they thought he was going to come like a warrior. He came riding in on the donkey, not looking all marvelous and stuff. And then you got Antichrist coming looking marvelous, and it's going to be, you know what I'm saying, deceptive the whole time. So
Yeah, you get the perspective of what it really looks like for for people to honor God with their lips and their heart be far from
now,
it. Because
yeah,
even that aspect of saying like God gonna save just me and leave everybody else here to suffer.
that's
Like, do you think that's
not God.
like
That's not God's heart. Like
once
when you
again
actually look at it
out of
out of
character? So
character.
if you don't know what the lamb looks
Mm, you
like
can
it said it had two horns like a lamb. And Mama Sue put
didn't even
the perfect picture, like the earthly lamb, an earthly lamb. But here it is, we have in Revelation 5, where it describes him
and he said the
heavenly.
seven eyes, bro. They didn't even say anything, nothing about the eyes, like nothing about, you know. So when Mama said the earthly lamb with the two little horns, you know, it's just it looked
And even
how
his looks didn't match up. His looks didn't match up with his speech, or let me say his speech didn't match with his
match
looks.
up with the
Like,
looks.
yo, you look like a lamb, but when you're talking, you sound like a dragon. Like it's man. So yeah, that's
But we're
yeah.
set up like that right now. We're set up as me, as selfish. You know what I mean? Like I even be thinking like, dang, I'll be too selfish with my prayers. But you can be selfish, bro. Like just think about me or thinking about mine. And not even when like, you know, I was thinking about like even just like us talking and speaking in front of people. Like just get the word out, bro. Regardless of what you know, because it may be somebody that may just be on the bridge of like going the wrong, like stepping in the wrong direction. And you can just be that little spark to kind of like get them like, you know, not saying you know what I mean.
You heard
Yeah.
what you
Um
just
Being
said?
obedient.
You heard what you just said?
That
what?
You heard what you just said?
Yes, I heard it.
Okay, so
I heard it.
now what you're doing now, if you don't proceed now, is barbershop talk.
Well, what I do, I like I told
Hold on.